In database management, ensuring that data migrations and schema changes are verified consistently across different environments is a common challenge. Verification queries are crucial for validating the success of database operations, but when environments like dev, stage, and prod have different datasets, these queries need to be flexible, especially when verifying DML changes. This demo walks through an approach for handling this in Harness Database DevOps. We will link to this demo's companion blog in the description. The blog provides full details of how to configure this solution for your developers. Here you can see that I recently had a database deployment that failed to apply this particular change. The reason this change failed isn't because it couldn't be applied to the database. It's because its test failed. And when its test failed, we automatically rolled that transaction, putting the database back in the state before this change was applied. If I look at the logs for this step, you can see that it failed because test case 3 failed to execute due to a mismatched expected and actuals value. This test was doing a particular environment-specific test. Let me really quickly show you this change. Over here in Git, we can see the change that failed. It started by uploading some test data from this CSV file to a table named test cases. It then ran this SQL file, which is the change that I actually wanted to apply to the database. And finally, it executed a stored procedure on the database called run test cases, and it passed in the name of the environment that I'm deploying to. This basic framework allows you to very easily allow a developer to simply provide their test cases in a CSV file by environment, provide their change in the exact same way they do today as a SQL file, and then finally, at runtime, include this exact line every single time, and it will simply ensure that those tests pass, and if not, roll back all of the changes from the SQL file. If I come over here, you can see the CSV file that we uploaded. It's basically just a simple 2-column table, where one column is the name of the environment, and the other column is the test query that we want to run. The sub-procedure was configured ahead of time on the database by the DBA, and it simply runs every query in this column, and it compares the values of the expected and actual column from the results, and considers the test to be a pass if those columns match, and a fail if they don't. This test ran in an environment that is currently configured to use this production row. If I come up and I look at the SQL that was run against the database, you can see that the system, when it ran it, went ahead and automatically injected the word production in here. This is based off my database instance config in Harness Database DevOps, which is typically configured when you initially connect a database and is simply specified right here and can be used to substitute any property value that you reference in your changelog. In this case, I'm using it to specify the environment to which I am deploying. If instead I had deployed to an environment that was not configured as production, then those tests would have passed and the change would have applied, just like it does here. Similarly, if I go and I look at that preview log that I showed you earlier, you can see that on this run, the environment was named disable tests, and that was just because I did not want any of my tests to run. So as you can see, this gives you a really easy framework where your developers can simply provide their SQL file. They can also provide a CSV file providing test cases, and then those test cases will be run on the correct environments, and the transaction will automatically roll back the changes if those test cases fail. Because different environments have different data, when you get into DML changes, oftentimes you need to run a different verification script. This simple framework gives the developers an easy way to manage the expected behavior across environments by simply specifying a different validation query for each environment. If you want to know more about this solution, please refer to the linked blog, which shows you exactly how to configure all of this and shows all of the change logs as well as the stored procedure that were being used in this demo.